Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. In light of the news that Sombra basically got a nerf instead of a buff, I thought it was a good opportunity to sit down with Fitzy here to talk about why it's such a problem and ultimately what should be done instead. You can find all of Fitzy's details in the description below, but let's get started. So, as per usual with these kind of videos, we'll start with introductions. Who are you? Why do you play Sombra? And ultimately, why should people listen to you when it comes to talking about Sombra?
Fitzyhere. I've played probably about 800 or 900 hours of Sombra at this point. I've played her through since release, through all the various buffs she's gotten, and then the more recently, a few of the nerfs she's gotten. I'm consistently in top 500. The highest I've hit is rank 5. Hopefully I'll hit rank 1 one of these seasons, but pretty decent Sombra player most of the time, and she's she is my most played hero for sure.
So I guess we can just cut straight to the chase. The general consensus about the changes on the PTR with Sombra is mostly negative. Do you agree with said changes? And ultimately, why do you think people believe this?
So the aspects that they're buffing with Sombra right now don't necessarily need buffed. Most of the time you can use your invis and your translocator and you don't have to worry about the timer. There are, of course, the times where, yes, it would be great to have a longer timer, but I don't think that giving her a longer timer warrants the nerfs. So by adding the detection range, the slower movement speed, the translocator being able to be destroyed, all of these just overall, you're not going to gain as much value out of the buffs and outweigh the nerfs. So, and right now, stealth is more used of a mobility tool in getting back to the fight. You translocate back to your health pack, you grab the health pack, you use invis to come back to the fight. As opposed to holding it out and waiting for the perfect opportunity to get the hack off. I won't say that you can't get more value out of using the permanent invis, but the times that you would find these perfect opportunities that you wouldn't have been able to find with the old translocator does not outweigh the negatives of the buff, or rather the negatives of the nerf.
So I guess that leads on nicely to what was Sombra's problem before these changes, because now she has all of this on top of the older problems that seem like they haven't been resolved, right?
So with the most recent nerfs that we had before this, of the hack line of sight linger effect, as well as the 2-second hack cooldown, right now I guess last Tuesday, they deployed the patch which fixed the line of sight bugs. I believe it should fix a majority of them, just the little testing. And previously, if you go to hack a target, they have the little diamond around them of that's a valid target. And if you started the hack and you lost line of sight of that diamond, the hack would break. But right now on the live, if you start the hack on the diamond and the target moves out of line of sight, but you can see part of their body or part of their hitbox, then the hack will finish. And this goes a long way with shields. Brig and Reinhardt were very notorious for this. But now, as long as Reinhardt is still partially in line of sight of you, the hack will finish. And so they've done better with that. So I'm happy about that. And I think even just leaving her as is and see what happens could be a better option than going forward with this. Because I think consistency is a problem and downtime in the fight is a problem. What these changes don't do is help her have more uptime in the middle of a fight. You can get the perfect opportunity before the fight starts, but once the fight starts, nothing's changed, and she's actually weaker because you won't get back to the fight as fast. You can't move around as easily with the invis because of the detection radius. Your translocator could now die mid-fight. There's just a lot of things mid-fight that happen that are now out of your control, or less in your control.
I think everybody has good ideas on how they would buff Sombra. I think there's a lot of obvious ones. What ones do you hear a lot of? And also, you did mention something off interview that I found really interesting. You wouldn't up her damage or her spread. You wouldn't make her a better DPS hero. Why would that be?
So I think coming out of Invis and just getting destroyed immediately is very not fun to play against. And considering how quickly the hack got nerfed because of that. I don't think that's a route that Blizzard should head. I think her damage is fine where it's at. She doesn't need more burst damage. She just needs more sustainability and more uptime in the fights. A lot of people want her to come out of invis faster, and I don't, again, that's similar to the burst damage of you don't have enough time to react to somebody coming out of invis, that there's no way that you can really know she's there. If you recall, there was a bug on live for a couple weeks, it might have been a month or so, where if you used your emote when trying to come out of invis, it would take you out of invis immediately and you could start shooting. And while this does add strength to Sombra, I don't think that coming out of invis instantly is a good thing for her.
So if you were Jeff Kaplan, with all of the stuff that you've said before the changes on the PTR, what should the buffs have been in your eyes?
Some sort of improvement to reload, whether it's a slightly faster reload time. Right now I believe it's 1.5 seconds. If that was just 1.25, and slowly push it to see where it crosses the line of, okay, that's too strong, or is it too strong? So decreasing the reload speed. Something that they've done with Reaper, and that is currently working with McCree, how they use an ability and they reload. People were very scared about Reaper using his Wraith form and auto-reloading and having the ability to come out of Wraith form instantly. Everyone thought it was going to be terrible, and it didn't really change him that much. People still aren't playing him. Maybe it's just because there's not a lot of tanks in the meta, but everyone thought the reload was going to break him. It didn't. So something that I think might not break Sombra, but make her in a better spot mid-fight as well, is if the translocator auto-reloads. It's a 4-second cooldown, so you essentially would never have to reload in the middle of a fight. If you think about how Sombra uses her translocator right now, a majority of the time you're going to put the translocator off on the side, you use your invis, you get in, you get the hack, or you EMP, or you start to shoot someone, and essentially every time you reload, or go to reload, maybe not necessarily every time, but when you translocate back, it's not like you wouldn't have the time to reload and be like, as you're walking back from the fight, you're going to reload. So the times where you're using it mid-fight would allow you to have these, a lot of times you're put in this awkward situation where you're shooting, you want to chase a target, but before you throw your translocator, you need to reload, or you need to throw your translocator, reload, then translocate. You can't have this fluid motion of, I'm chasing this target to make sure they don't get away. Otherwise, what happens is you start to reload, then you throw your translocator, then you start to reload again, and then you start to reload again, because it just keeps getting interrupted, because 1.5 seconds is a very long time in the middle of a fight. So something that improves how she can reload would allow her to have this better uptime, especially versus the Mercy and the Zen and the consistent healing. If you start to get a target low and they peek behind or hide behind a wall and Mercy's healing them, you can't even chase them, because by the time you get there, they're already full health. Whereas if you could throw your translocator, pop around the corner, fully reloaded, and finish them off. But yeah, it's difficult with the 1.5 second reload, and she doesn't have the burst potential that other heroes have.
Is that kind of like Sombra's biggest problem then? Just down to her reloading? Or, I guess the other question I was going to ask is, how much of this is meta related? The fact that she's not being played as much?
So definitely with Hanzo being in the mix, and Zenyatta, Mercy, Brig, they just allow this kind of, everyone kind of protects each other. If you think about what target you're supposed to attack, let's say they have the Rein, Zarya, Hanzo, Mercy, Zen, and Brig. If you target the Brig, you're not going to kill her. She's got 50 armor. One clip won't kill her. So your targets are Zen and Mercy, and potentially Hanzo. If you go for the Mercy, she has the mobility to escape, and then the fact that Brig and Zen are there to heal. Same thing with Hanzo. He has the mobility to escape, and he can just fight you 1v1. That is a very Hanzo one-sided fight. So your best target really is Zen, at which point he can 1v1 you. It's definitely a Sombra favored matchup, but the fact that Zarya can bubble, Brig can give him the instant 150 health, Mercy's there with the high healing. If Mercy shows up and Zen is at 50% health, you're not going to finish the kill before you have to reload. At which point, once you start the reload, the risk of staying for 1.5 seconds is too high, as well as Zen's already going to be at full health.
What do you think Blizzard were actually thinking with these changes on the PTR? What do you think their goal was here? And do you feel that, in their eyes, they achieved what they wanted to?
Having to not worry about the cooldowns does help you figure out how to get in the perfect position to get the opening. While this can help the ease of access into Sombra, because you don't have to know, like, okay, if this target's here, I need to place my translocator at this position, use my invis when I hit this position, so I can end my invis right when I want to. Which it does take a lot of map awareness and positional awareness of how far do you need to travel in that much time. So I think it helps the accessibility to the hero, but it does not help where she's at in terms of strength overall. So I guess if that was their goal, to improve the accessibility of her, that's great. But overall, that's not going to help the power level that she has mid-fight. And currently the meta isn't. It isn't her meta. You know, Hanzo is very, very dominant. I think everyone can say that. And if you can't contest the Hanzo, then you might as well not be playing the hero.
Ultimately, what point do you really want to get across with this? Is it a buff in some fashions? Is it a hard nerf? Is it an overreaction for people? Like, just to get your opinions out there in a concise way, where do you feel that Sombra stands in that regard?
I think if they just leave her where she's at and just modify her reload slightly, she would be in a great spot.
Where she's at being live.
Correct. So just don't go through with the PTR at all. Don't do anything with the PTR. It's not buffing her. It's kind of more changing her playstyle, and I don't think the direction that the playstyle is going to improve Sombra. I think it's going to put her in a worse location.
That'd already be pretty bad. And finally, I mean, Sombra's taken a lot of big nerfs. You know, not being able to get ult charge from health packs. Now all of this. Where can people find more of this hero being taken apart whilst you're trying to play at a top 500 level? And surprisingly, did a really good job of it, might I add. Where can people find you?
So I stream live on Twitch every day for the most part. Twitch.tv/Fitzyhere. And I also have a YouTube channel, just Fitzyhere as well. Yeah, I ended... Last season was pretty rough. I was not in top 500 for the majority of it, but by the end, we managed to hit top 250. So it's just tough with Hanzo, and he's still dominant. He's getting a little nerf on the PTR. So once he starts to fall off a little bit, we'll see the rise of Sombra being a little bit stronger.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Fitzy made some really good points, and I do hope that they revert the changes somewhat. Do let us know what you think below in the comments, and until next time, take care. We'll see you then.